You are about to discover a secret as old as creation itself, the moment when the most beautiful of angels was judged, fell, and unleashed a war that still reverberates throughout the universe. If you want to understand why evil exists, how it arose, and what this fall has to do with your destiny, stay with me until the end. I promise that in the final minute you will see that this story is not just in the past. It lives within you now. But before we dive into this revelation, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos like this. Because we're about to explore the underworld of spiritual history, and you'll want to be here for every episode. Now, let's begin. In the beginning, before our world came into being, there were the realms of invisible realities, beings of light, messengers of the divine will, who inhabited a universe of purity. Among them, one stood out. He was created to reflect divine glory, endowed with beauty and wisdom beyond the stars. But at the heart of his service, a seed began to sprout, the desire for more than he had been given. This angel, whom tradition has named Lucifer, or light-bearer, occupied a position of honor, perhaps as an anointed cherub, according to some interpreters. He contemplated the eternal throne, heard the song of the redeemed, and conducted the chorus of celestial beings. He was a fighter, a guardian composer, enveloped in the mystery of holiness. But then, something changed. He looked at what he saw, contemplated his role, felt the reflection of himself become distinct, and thought, what if I could not only serve but reign? What if I could be worshipped, established above the clouds of glory? It was there, in that tiny and eternal instant, that the fall germinated. So the stage was set, a glorious being yet still created, a choice, an ambition. And what we see is that the Bible doesn't describe with chronological precision the day or hour when this angel fell. Luke 10:18 recounts that Jesus said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. This verse suggests the spiritual reality of the fall, but it doesn't give details. The notion that a third of the angels fell with him comes from Revelation 12:4-9, where the dragon drags stars from the sky, interpreted as angels. In other words, there is a fragmented symbolic history full of powerful images, but precise data is lacking. The clear chronology of this fall is forbidden if we understand it as marginal to mainstream education. And it is this history that we will reveal in layers. Throughout this video, we will explore 4 acts: the rise, the pride, the judgment, and the fall. First, let's understand what led this being to desire what was not given to him. The I want to be like the Most High. Because understanding this is to comprehend how evil entered the world, not as a minor error, but as a radical rebellion. Imagine this angel in splendor, skies filled with songs, light that not even the sun could sustain, creatures worshipping. And this being, disturbed by the reflected light. The logic he followed was simple, yet deadly. If I am beautiful, wise, and anointed, why not be like God? The root of evil, not ignorance, but pride. And here is the paradox. He was created for glory, great glory, but chose less glory for himself because he desired more. That is precisely where judgment comes in. God, the Most High, sovereign of all, allowed the light to be tested. He allowed free will to manifest itself even among celestial beings. The fall is not forced, it is chosen. Many Christians never stop to consider that if an angel could have fallen, then even glory does not protect against free choice. Furthermore, if evil has sprung from heaven, its reach is universal, not just human. The fall of the first angel opened a wound that affects every creature. Before there was earth, seas, or man, there was a tribunal in the unseen. A judgment not of flesh, but of spirit. An angel, the first among the created, rose up against the Creator himself. The scene is immense. Imagine the throne of fire, surrounded by myriads of beings of light. The sound of the chant ceases. Silence hangs over the heavens like a weight. In the center, that angel, the most resplendent among the cherubim, is brought before the throne. He does not bow down. He does not lower his eyes. His voice, sweet as harps, now sounds like thunder. Why should I serve when I can rule? Why should I worship when the light is within me? And that is how pride turned into heresy, and heresy into rebellion. According to ancient Hebrew traditions and apocryphal texts, even before Lucifer became the symbol of evil, there was a celestial judgment, a test among the angels. The Book of Enoch, a text that was left out of the biblical canon, mentions angels who fell before human creation, known as the Watchers. These beings were sent to observe the newly created world, but some of them became corrupted. They rebelled not only out of pride, but out of desire, curiosity, and forbidden love. They descended to earth, mingled with the daughters of men, and thus, according to the apocryphal account, corrupted the purity of creation. But what if the first judgment wasn't about the Watchers, but about the one who inspired them to fall? What if, before Lucifer, another being, older, more elevated, had already been condemned? This is the story that time has silenced, the story that the Bible only hints at with shadows and echoes. In the ancient writings of the Church Fathers and in fragments of Jewish texts, there are mentions of a Prince of Light who fell before all others. A being known by some as Azael or Semyaza in other traditions, he is credited with inciting the first angels to defy the divine decree. The canonical Bible mentions the name Azazel in Leviticus 16, associated with the scapegoat of the Day of Atonement. A goat was sent into the desert for Azazel, bearing the sins of Israel. This has intrigued scholars for centuries. Who was Azazel? A symbol or a real entity, a veiled reminder of a fallen angel even before Satan was called that? What if this Azazel was the first one judged, the true precursor of the celestial rebellion? The writings of Enoch say, "And Azazel taught men how to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates, and he showed them the metals of the earth and how to work them, and bracelets, ornaments, and the use of precious stones." Enoch 8:1-2. This forbidden teaching was seen as the beginning of human corruption. But what few realize is that the act of teaching, of revealing what was hidden, was also a direct challenge to divine authority. Azazel wanted to reveal what God had not authorized. He wanted to bring knowledge, but this knowledge was the beginning of ruin. The judgment of the first fallen angel was, therefore, the judgment of forbidden knowledge, of the attempt to place the creature on the Creator's throne. In the heavens, this act reverberated like thunder. Loyal angels withdrew. The celestial court rose in indignation, and it was decreed, he who introduced pride and secrecy into the heavens would be cast into darkness. The Book of Enoch goes on to say that God commanded the archangel Raphael to bind him and cast him into the wilderness of Dudael, covered with sharp stones and darkness, until the day of judgment. Understand this. This judgment precedes the creation of Adam. It takes place in a spiritual realm, before human history. And that's where the question that few dare to ask arises. If this angel was judged before the creation of man, and if he was the first to be condemned, then Lucifer was not the first to fall. He merely followed the path opened by another. That is why this knowledge was considered forbidden, because it changes everything. It changes the order of the spiritual narrative. Later Christian tradition merged the stories of Azazel, Semyaza, and Lucifer into a single archetype, the enemy. But in the beginning, perhaps, there was more than one rebellion, more than one fall, more than one judgment. Now imagine, in the celestial court, the Creator pronounces the verdict. The voice echoes through the dimensions, breaking the silence of the firmament. You were perfect from the day you were created until iniquity was found in you. I will drive you out from the mountain of God and cast you as an unholy thing before the cherubim. Ezekiel 28:15-16. There is no record of a defense. There is no appeal. There is only the sentence and the subsequent silence, and in that silence, something terrible is born. Resentment. The first angel judge does not disappear. He is confined. He waits, and from his exile, he vows to corrupt the creation that God will yet make. It is the beginning of the invisible war, the spiritual battle that still echoes today. The angels who followed him were scattered, but the echo of their rebellion persisted. They became shadows, inspirations of pride and temptation between the worlds. Before Adam breathed, before the dust of the earth received the breath of life, there was already an echo in the universe. The echo of judgment, the memory of a being who defied the divine order and was cast into the shadows. The Creator, in giving form to man, was not merely creating a being. He was making a cosmic statement. Man would be flesh and spirit, light and dust, a reflection of the harmony lost in heaven, a new beginning, a new creation capable of choosing to love and not just obey. But just as the universe still bore the scar of the first judgment, and the condemned one, the one who fell before Lucifer, waited. God created man in his own image. These words were a double sentence. To heaven, they were a song of glory. To the fallen, they were an insult. How could a being made of dust carry what the angels have lost? It was then that evil found a new purpose, to corrupt what the Creator loved. And this is where the great mystery arises. How could an angel, judged before his time, influence the history of humanity? Some ancient texts, including the Book of Jubilees and fragments of Enoch, state that the rebellious angels asked God to allow the temptation of man, saying, "They too will fall, just as we have fallen." But God, in his sovereignty, allowed it, not because he desired evil, but because freedom demands choice. So the one who had been judged and cast into darkness, Azazel, or as the Hebrews called him, the deserter, found a new ally, Lucifer, the light-bearer. They were not the same being. They were distinct echoes of the same sin. One had fallen for revealing forbidden knowledge. The other would fall for desiring the divine throne. And together they became the two faces of eternal rebellion, knowledge without permission and pride without limit. Eden would be the realm where this dual heritage would manifest itself. Imagine the scene, the newly created earth, perfect harmony, the sound of running water, the breeze rustling the leaves of the garden, everything pulsed with the presence of the Creator. And then the snake appears. But who was this snake? Revelation 12:9 identifies it as the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan. But what if the serpent was an instrument of an even more ancient evil? What if, behind Lucifer, there was an echo of the first angel judged, the one who knew the secrets of forbidden knowledge, the one who taught men to see what God had hidden? The serpent, when speaking to Eve, did not offer immediate power. It offered knowledge. You will certainly not die, but you will be like God, knowing good and evil. This is exactly the same temptation as in heaven. The same whisper that echoed before creation. Why serve when I can know? Why obey when I can be equal? Thus, the serpent spoke not only as a tempter, but also as an echo of the first judgment. Eden, therefore, was more than a story about man. It was a repetition of the first fall. The mirror of the celestial rebellion reflected on earth, and the man fell not through malice, but through a desire to know. The same mistake as the first angel, the same forbidden knowledge that Azazel taught the angels, the serpent now offered to humanity. And when God saw Adam and Eve fall, he saw not only two beings disobeying, He saw the reflection of an ancient angel repeating itself. Eden was the stage where evil materialized. The first judgment, invisible and spiritual, now became visible and earthly. That is why the Creator says to the serpent, "You will crawl on your belly, and you will eat dust all the days of your life." This statement is not merely physical, it is symbolic. The condemned angel, who once walked among the stars, would now crawl among the dust, the same dust from which man was created. Fallen glory would now be doomed to wander in that which it most despised: matter, the body, humanity. Eden was, in fact, the second hearing of the same trial. Earth has become the spiritual battleground between the Creator and the echoes of the ancient rebellion. But there's something even deeper. In Genesis 3:15, God prophesies, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel." This prophecy is not just about Satan and Christ. It's about the promise of a new judgment, the final judgment of all who have fallen. Every human act of faith, of love, of right choice is a response to the first heavenly judgment. Every time someone resists evil, the original verdict is rewritten, and this is where the story connects to heaven again. Because Eden was not the end of the first judgment, it was merely its continuation. The man, upon being expelled from the garden, carried within himself the conflict that had begun prematurely. The struggle between obedience and pride, between knowledge and wisdom, between being created and wanting to be God. The universe has never known silence like that which preceded the second war in heaven. After the first judgment, that of Azazel, the angel of forbidden knowledge, cosmic balance seemed to be restored. The spiritual realms vibrated once more with songs, and the glory of God shone upon the throne. But in the heart of another angel, a shadow was beginning to grow, his name Lucifer, the light-bearer. He was the most radiant among created beings, the guardian of the divine altar, the perfect reflection of harmony. But the memory of the first judgment, the echo of Azazel, still haunted the heavens like a spectre, and Lucifer heard that echo. In the celestial corridors, an ancient voice whispered, "Why serve when you can reign? Why bow down when you are the reflection of glory?" The same temptation, the same pride, the same desire that brought down the first angel now flourished in another heart. But this time, the rebellion would be bigger. While Azazel had been the first condemned, Lucifer would be the first leader of a celestial war. Early Christian tradition describes this revolt as an event of unimaginable proportions. Revelation 12:7 recounts, "Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back." This dragon was Lucifer, now transformed into Satan, the adversary. And the sky, which had once been harmonious, became a battlefield. Imagine lightning bolts cutting through the sky, angelic choirs transformed into armies, swords of light piercing dimensions. It was the first time that love and justice had collided with such full force, and in the center, the throne, the Creator, immobile. Because love doesn't need to fight, it only needs to judge with truth. The archangel Michael, commander of the loyal hosts, raises his sword and shouts, "Who is like God?" That phrase, Mikael in Hebrew, became the celestial battle cry. With a single movement, the army of light advanced, and the lightning bolt of justice crossed the infinite. Revelation 12:8-9 recounts the outcome. "And they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan." But few people notice the detail that changes everything. This war did not begin with man. It began with the echo of the first trial. Lucifer repeated the mistake of the first angel. He wanted the throne, he wanted adoration, he wanted power, and he dragged a third of the angels with him. What began as pride turned into open revolt. What began as a desire turned into war, and so, for the second time, the heavenly court opened. The first trial had condemned the angel of forbidden knowledge. The second one now judged the angel of corrupted light. Lucifer was deposed from his position. His name, once a symbol of brilliance, has become synonymous with darkness. And the angels who followed him, the fallen stars, were cast down with him. Some ancient theologians said that the sound of this fall was like a cosmic storm, the noise of millions of wings burning at the entrance to the dimensions. The entire creation felt the impact, and where there was once music, there was silence. But this silence was not the end. It was the beginning of human history. Because it was after this fall that the physical world, the earth, became the stage for redemption. And now the divine plan was being revealed. God would create a new race made of matter and spirit, capable of overcoming what the angels could not overcome: pride. And here's the revelation: man was created not only to exist, but to witness the heavenly judgment. Every act of faith, every gesture of love, is a reminder to those who have fallen that true light does not come from vanity, it comes from obedience. But the fallen did not give up. Lucifer, banished, vowed to corrupt mankind, and the first angel judged, Azazel, became his ally in the occult. Pride and forbidden knowledge have joined forces once more, now disguised as temptation, idolatry, and false gods. Therefore, from the very beginning, man has felt the impulse to seek power, mystery, and hidden knowledge. Because the voice that once echoed in the sky still whispers in the shadows, "You will be like God." The fall of Lucifer was not the end of the war, but the beginning of the battle for the human soul. The heavens had been cleansed, but the earth had become the new battleground, and in this field each generation repeats the same judgment. The one about pride, the one about forbidden knowledge, the choice between serving or reigning. When Christ came to earth, the cosmos trembled once more. Because for the first time, a perfect man, fully human and fully divine, conquered the original temptation. In the desert, the same adversary who once challenged the throne offered him the same covenant. "All this I will give you, if you will bow down and worship me." But Jesus replied, "You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." With these words, the curse of the first judgment began to be broken. And on Calvary, when the Son of Man exclaimed, "It is finished," the heavens opened again. The trial that began before its time found its final verdict on the cross. The spilled blood rewrote the history that had been stained by the rebellion of the angels. Man, once a captive of celestial pride, could now overcome the evil that preceded him. But the story isn't over yet. The apocalypse announces a final judgment, one in which the dragon, the ancient serpent, will finally be destroyed. The same book that describes his downfall states, "And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet are." Revelation 20:10. Time is running out. The same cosmic clock that marked the first judgment of the angels is now approaching its final stroke. The entire universe awaits the third and final judgment, the one that will bring to a close the cycle that began before Eden, before man, before time itself. This is the moment when all the voices of the past fall silent and the truth speaks. The echo of the first trial. From Azazel, the first fallen angel, to Lucifer, the light-bearer who became the adversary, the entire spiritual history of humanity has been shaped by this sequence of rebellions. The first judgment revealed the danger of knowledge without wisdom. The second is the danger of power without humility. But the third will reveal the justice that unites love and truth. Revelation 20 describes a vision. Then I saw a great white throne, and him who was seated on it, and the dead great and small standing before God, and the book of life was opened. This is the final judgment, not that of the angels, but that of all creation. There, every soul will be reminded that the war in heaven was never just between angels, but also within ourselves. Because the same pride that brought down the angels also dwells in the human heart. The same thirst for knowledge, the same drive to be like God. But now, in this trial, there is no more time for masks. The Creator raises his voice, and the heavens and the earth are silent. What was once permitted, free will, doubt, temptation, is now subject to weighing. And this is where the mystery is solved. God never wanted forced servants. He wanted conscious children. He allowed the fall, so that love would be a choice, not a plan. The restoration begins, but before the white throne, something happens. A crowd is dressed in white. They are the ones who won, not because they never fell, but because they knew how to get back up. These are the ones who understood the lesson left by the first trial. True power lies in obedience, and true wisdom lies in recognizing one's own limitations. The skies, once torn apart by war, now shine in perfect harmony. The angels who remained faithful surround the throne, and their voices sing the song of restoration. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. The lost light is restored, but it's not the same light as before. It is a new light, purified by pain, shaped by choice, born of redemption. Because when evil is defeated, it fulfills its purpose, to reveal the value of loyalty. The entire universe finally understands the reason for the first judgment. God did not punish the first angel out of anger. He judged him out of love, so that freedom might have boundaries and creation might have purpose. The fate of the fallen Azazel, the first to be condemned, is summoned again. The angel of forbidden knowledge, the one who taught men the use of iron and vanity, now bows before the throne he once defied. There is no defense. There are no more voices. The silence that surrounds him is the same silence that prevailed in the beginning. And the sentence is proclaimed, "You will be cast into eternal darkness, along with those who corrupted the earth with you." The dimensions tremble. The spiritual prison that has held him since the days of Enoch opens, not to free him, but to seal him away forever. Next, the dragon, the fallen Lucifer, is brought forth. His light dimmed, his voice silenced. He looks at the throne and understands. For millennia, it deceived, destroyed, and lied, but in the end, all it did served only to reveal the glory of the one it tried to replace. Revelation 20:10 is fulfilled. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet are, and will be tormented forever and ever. It's not just a punishment, it's the closing of a cycle. The first fallen angel and the last enemy now unite in silence. The cosmos is purified, and for the first time since creation, there is no more rebellion. The new heaven and the new earth, John writes. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. This is the consequence of the final judgment, recreation. The universe, freed from corruption, is reshaped by the divine hand. The light shines again, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Because now, every created being carries within itself the memory of what it cost to maintain harmony. Man, once dust and glory, now becomes eternal. The angels, now purified, return to their places, and at the center of the new universe, the throne remains. The glory that the angels desired to possess now flows freely, shared not as possession, but as communion. The light belongs to everyone because it comes from one. The final moral, the judgment that lives within us. This entire story, from the first angel judged before Lucifer, to the war in heaven, to redemption on the cross, and to the final judgment, has a simple yet profound moral. True power lies not in being like God, but in remaining with God. Evil was born when love was replaced by ego, but good triumphed when love became a sacrifice, and each of us today continues to participate in this judgment. Every choice, every thought, every act of compassion or pride is part of the same tribunal that began before time. The difference is that now the verdict depends on us. The Creator, the same one who judged the angels, today looks into every heart and asks, which side of history do you want to be on? In the end, the universe doesn't end in darkness, but in light. The throne, which was once a stage for judgment, is now an altar of reconciliation, and the echo that once sounded like condemnation now resounds like a song. The light has won. Because every fall, when overcome by grace, is transformed into ascension, and every judgment, when understood through love, becomes a lesson. The first angel fell so that the universe might learn the value of faithfulness. The man fell to learn the value of forgiveness, and God allowed both falls to reveal that his light never goes out. And so ends the forbidden story, the judgment of the first fallen angel before Lucifer, a story of pride, downfall, war, and redemption. A reminder that the battle between light and darkness was never just between angels, but within ourselves. If this story touched you, share it with those who seek to understand the invisible. And remember, the greatest victory is not conquering heaven. It's keeping the light burning within your own soul. For the judgment has begun, and the light has overcome the darkness.